This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Don't listen to the trolls. Bryce Underwood shined. That's right, shined in Michigan's spring game. That and more on the season finale of Michigan Podcast next.
But there's going to be one team that's going to play solely as a team. No man is more important than the team. No coach is more important than the team. The team, the team, the team.
Looks deep for Anthony Clark. Waits for it. Hit. Caught.
They said you can't beat Ohio State. Now what?
Brady gets terrific. Throws it, and a touchdown night again. Schultz just before Brazil got him, and a leaping interception by Woodson.
Harbaugh back to throw over the middle. Caught by Collier at the 5 on his feet. Touchdown, Michigan. On its way. It's good.
He's 5'7", 179 pounds, a junior at Michigan. But Jamie Morris packs a wallop, and he delivers for Bo Schembechler.
And here's your first play. Pressure coming. Second. It is Glenn Steele, number 81, who fought his way through the traffic.
Option. And Robinson calls his own number. And he's going to score. Oh, an easy touchdown for Robinson and Michigan.
We're going to win the championship again because we're going to play as a team. And when we play as a team and the old season is over, you and I know it's going to be Michigan again. Michigan.
Go Blue, I'm Steve Deace. Welcome to the season finale of Michigan Podcast. And yes, some of you in the comments are about to accuse me of drinking the copium, maybe some hopium. And you might be right. We'll see. That's why they play the games, as Chris Berman used to say. And, we'll maybe get a more objective take on this from Mark Rogers when he joins us in the next segment of the program. But as we come upon the season finale, I am telling you right now, I am excited by what I saw from Bryce Underwood in Michigan spring game. And I went through and charted all 31 of his dropbacks, all 31. I had him at 19 pluses and 12 minuses. Of the minuses, I would say roughly half, I would not say were either his fault or primarily his fault. For example, the interception right before halftime, I think he actually made the right read, and the receiver ran the wrong route. Many of his incompletions were still very catchable balls. He was clearly a little nervous at the very beginning and misread a coverage and should have thrown a pick six on his very first throw. But after that, the very next drop back, he made a line switch right there at the line of scrimmage, and go back and watch that. You watch him make adjustments throughout the game. I just thought he looked like he was in command of the offense. A lot of five-star quarterbacks are there because of their traits, right? But they need developing. And so a lot of times when they are at this stage of their career, they are great athletes playing quarterback, not quarterbacks who are great athletes. I already think Bryce Underwood's a quarterback who's a great athlete. Michigan took his easiest, maybe not his greatest, his arm talent's his greatest, but his easiest asset are his legs. He's a great athlete. They took that away from him with the structure of the game. Only once that he escaped the pocket did they really let him run. The rest of the game, if he came anything close to contact, they blew it dead. And so he's got to play within the structure of an offense. It's a brand new offense that's still being installed by a brand new offensive coordinator. He's in a split squad. His number one receiver is on the other team. And yet he looked in complete and total command of the offense. In fact, one of my buddies, shout out to the one and only Joe Simon out there, himself a bit of a quarterback guru. He was texting me during the spring game. If anything, this kid looks like he's too poised. All right. So I thought he was in command of the offense. I watched him go through his progressions. I watched him look like he was going to go through his progressions and then make his primary read. Folks, I'm just telling you right now, in terms of ability to play quarterback, he's way ahead of where J.J. McCarthy was coming into his freshman year. And I mean, way ahead. I'd say he's ahead of where J.J. McCarthy was coming into his sophomore year, because it wasn't until the last third of training camp or so that J.J. really asserted himself and was clearly at that point being outplayed by Cade McNamara. I mean, go back to watch the Michigan Fall Camp preview from 2022 when they raved about Cade McNamara and barely talked about J.J., and then J.J. really came on at the end, right? There's more to quarterbacking than just traits. And the cerebral part of the game, Bryce understands. You can just see it already. And I go back to a conversation I had with Connor Stallions the week before Bryce switched his commitment. And I'm like, hey, man, is he really this good? You're his OC right now. And everything that Connor told me about his preparation, his mental approach to the game, you could see it all in that spring game. I think it was the perfect spring game, actually. First of all, Michigan is playing a split squad. A lot of spring games are either, drills, glorified 7-on-7, or what Michigan used to do for many years, which is 1s and 3s versus 2s and 4s. I mean, this was a draft, so the teams are pretty even up in talent, okay? So this is not meant to be a showcase event at all. Also, Wink is not giving him the full package in terms of blitzes, but they're not just sitting back there doing 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi either. I mean, they were coming after him. He's got a little bit of shaky coverage on the left side of the offensive line at tackle there, but he was maybe going up against the best defense he's going to see all season, guys, in this spring game. It is possible. At the worst, it's a top 3 defense he's going to see all season. And the fact that his, counting stats were not great, that's going to get all the troll fans and Colts there from Spartina and Bucknut. I mean, they're going to be out there just in a masturbatory, self-pleasuring circle, getting busy all off season long. He's going to see that. That's going to motivate him all the more. Because when you really sit and watch the film and break it all down, you see a young man who already knows how to play quarterback at this level. Now, there are looks he hasn't seen, situations he hasn't been in, that he's going to go through all that for the very first time. And there will be warts, particularly early in the year. And you worry about that second game of the year, likely prime time, sold out, Norman, Oklahoma, Michigan's first ever trip there to that stadium. I could see that being a game where we lose like 27-17 because Bryce threw a pick or two and, had a strip sack fumble or something that cost us, as well. But I'm just going to tell you right now, if he stays healthy based on what I saw, I think if he stays healthy at the end of this season, people are going to be talking like, hey, if Bryce Underwood were in this draft, where would he go? This is number 1 overall pick in the draft kind of material. Absolutely worth the hype. And the last thing I'll leave you with is this. Keep in mind, this is the mold of clay with Bryce Underwood. We're starting with this. This is the basement. We're only going to go higher here. I mean, given the mold of clay we're starting with here, by the time we get through 3 months of a season, I see no reason why Bryce Underwood cannot take the Wolverines to the college football playoff this year. He's only going to get better. All right, Skynet is going to adapt. You can just see it as the game went on. I mean, if we're starting here with this level of poise and polish and talent and conceptual understanding, what happens when he actually learns how to play at this level? I think, folks, no, it is not time to listen to your cultist, trollish friends and family members and the people that you should have blocked online a long time ago. No. This is time to get very excited. Well, let's see about maybe getting, I guess, what some of you would call a more objective view. I mean, I happen to think I'm pretty objective, but I do love me some me. So that's not necessarily the case. Let's find out what maybe the only reasonable Bucknut we know, maybe the only reasonable one still alive that has not allowed Connor Stallions to completely destroy what's left of his brain matter. Our good friend Mark Rogers is here with us. Check out his channel, The Voice of College Football, and it's especially profitable to do so this time of year. We're in the preseason. We're in win total season. Great opportunity to get ahead of those markets with a lot of great coverage of teams all over the country. Mark does that all the time. He's got correspondents, stringers, reporters covering every team in college football that matters all year round. So you could say sometime around Christmas in particular, really feel like you made a good, shall we call it, investment decision to spend some time on Mark's channel here this time of year. Good to see you again, my friend. How are you?
Doing well, Steve. And I just figured that there are a lot more sinister elements out there than Connor Stallions trying to steal all of our brain matter. So I'm more guarded against those than I am Connor Stallions at this point.
Indeed. But tell the bro Ohio I said hello nevertheless. All right. So let's get to some football. I know you had a chance to take a look at Michigan spring game, as did I. And I actually went through and tried to do it as best you can, on videotape. It's not the coaching tape. It's not the all 22. But you do get a pretty good look at the quarterback position. You don't necessarily get a chance to see what he is seeing downfield in real time at all times. But the camera is pretty focused on the quarterback most of the time, his pocket presence, awareness in the pocket, things of that nature. And I got to tell you, after I watched it, I was pretty ecstatic at the stat line, because it's going to make a bunch of schmucks like your trolling cultic fan base and comment sections literally just pleasure themselves, thinking that somehow Michigan thought they were signing Trevor Lawrence and maybe they got Martin Lawrence instead. And not like Martin Lawrence when we were kids and he was funny, but like Martin Lawrence now, who looks like us with a dad bod. Okay, that Martin Lawrence. All right. But the reality is, if you actually take the time, I think, Mark, and you can agree or disagree, but if you actually watch this thing down and break it down, and you see that Michigan took his legs away from him. He's a great athlete. This guy ran for over 1,000 yards last year. Okay, they took that away from him because of the format of the game. He really only was allowed to run outside of the pocket one time. And so you're forcing a 17-year-old kid to play completely constricted within the confines of an offense that is still being installed with a brand new OC in a split squad scrimmage. I mean, I counted him with 19 pluses on his 31 dropbacks, 12 minuses. I thought about half of his minuses were not his fault, or he was not primarily at fault. For example, like the interception before the half. I think the receiver just ran the wrong route, and he actually had the right idea. But it is a minus. That is an interception, right? So, I think the fact that he looked poised, that he looked in command of the offense, that he looked like a quarterback playing in a system, not a young player with traits trying to learn how to play quarterback. And then the fact that the stat line was underwhelming, and so he's going to hear about that all off season. That's just going to motivate him all the more. I got to tell you, brother, I thought it was kind of a perfect setup for a player of his recruiting hype to get a surface level of humble pie. But at the same time, if you really look at the film here, considering he's 17 and this is his starting point, I thought he looked pretty strong.
Yes, Steve, you started to go down a road that I was headed on in regards to a good balance of just enough. Like when coaches say, hey, let's win the game, but have enough negatives to take into the next week's practice to knock these guys down and beat them in the head, but we still got the W. And I think that's what you got with Bryce Underwood, because the talent is obvious. Boy, the couple times that he did get flushed from the pocket rolling to his right, and he would just whip that thing on a line to the sideline about 20 or 25 yards downfield. Now, they weren't necessarily pinpoint accurate throws, but you just saw that thing whistle it in. The arm talent, arm skill, the strength, all of that is obvious. Now, his first few throws were pretty shaky. Almost threw what could have been a pick six in the right flat. And then he also threw one into coverage that I didn't know what he was doing with that one. But he just seemed to kind of settle into the game and what was going on and get better and better. And I see no issues here in regards to, yes, is he going to turn in a Trevor Lawrence season one? I don't know that. And probably the offense and the skill position players around him won't allow him to. But I think this is nothing but positives. The interception looked bad, but there was a miscommunication, and he seemed to be the receiver just pulled up at the time that he was delivering the football. Now, he did miss consistently. He seemed to throw the ball on these, they weren't necessarily out routes, but they were at the sideline, these comeback routes, better than anything. They were all hitting these dudes right in the chest, right in the numbers, right on time, right when they were coming back to the ball, turning around. He seemed to be very comfortable with those throws. He threw some balls down the seam that were way off, both into the end zone. And then there was one that he could have settled into. There was a guy running down the seam when they were on the right side of the screen when Underwood, so it must have been the first or third quarter, and throwing left. And the receiver should have settled into the pocket because he had tons of room there, and he just kind of led Bryce right into the safety. And so that turned out to be another. And you're going to have this. When you split the squad up, you're going to have miscommunication. You don't necessarily have the best players playing with each other. But then he threw a ball to number 88, and I went back and watched it like 3 times, tracked it like 50-some yards in the air, where after he had missed some throws to the sideline that I alluded to, he threw this one right over his shoulder. It was misjudged by the wide receiver. It should have been caught. But, man, he whistled that thing 50 yards. It was beautiful. And so I just think with a full summer and with August camp being as intense and focused as it will be on getting him ready for game 1, I think he'll be just fine.
2 more things on Bryce Underwood before we look at the team as a whole, Mark, and what you saw at the spring game. I am excited by the fact that this is the mold of clay we are starting with. And the point that I really tried to stress at the top before you came on is a lot of quarterbacks are given his recruiting prowess and mentioned. I mean, he's up there. When you look at, the history of the 24/7 composite, it's basically him. And then Quinn Ewers and Trevor Lawrence are the only 2 quarterbacks rated ahead of him in the history of the composite rating, going back to like 20 years. All right. Most of the time when a guy is that level of recruit, you guys have one of those coming in this year too, in Tavian St. Clair. But a lot of times it's because those guys have elite traits. All right. And the basic functionality of being a quarterback, it's like what I do for a living. Hey, I'm a good conversationalist. Okay. I mean, that doesn't mean you can be a talk show host. That's a good start. Don't get me wrong. That is a good start, right? You'd rather be that than, a shy bumpkin, wallflower. Okay. But can you form a conversation? Can you plot one out? And yet make it sound like it is organic at the exact same time. So you're not just reading a script, but it looks like you're engaging an audience. Can you have a conversation with yourself that makes the audience feel like they are a part of it, right? That's those are the skills that go with what I do for a living. All right. Can you be a great thrower of the football? That's a great place to start. Are you of a certain height, speed, and weight? Great places and traits to start. You'd rather be, North Carolina had an all-conference offensive lineman this year that did not get drafted because he's only 5'11" and 260 pounds. Okay. So traits do matter. I'm not underrating them at all. That's kind of the mold that you're starting with. But what you don't see a lot is a guy that when he's in the game looks like and processes like a quarterback. And that's what I saw. I think he's like way ahead of J.J. McCarthy. Like, I think he's way ahead of where J.J. was his sophomore year when he took over the starting role. I think he's ahead of that in terms of the processing of the game, the understanding of not just what we're doing, but why we're doing it a certain way, the conceptual aspect of the game. It is very clear to me watching the game, and he's doing a line call like on the very first snap. Okay. It's very clear that he is a student of the game, and that is what is actually rare. And that's really why either that or maybe a guy just needs more muscle. That's really why a lot of times even 5-star quarterbacks don't play a lot as freshmen, Mark. And so to me, if we're starting with this as the clay that we're now going to see mature and be molded over the next couple of years, and this is the starting point, I'm very excited about that.
Steve, he looks further along than Ohio State's supposed starting quarterback, Julian Sayin, who's at the same place in regards to game experience, but has a complete year in the system over Bryce Underwood. And I'm not predicting doom for Julian Sayin. I think he'll be just fine.
Yeah, he's got a few people to throw to. I think he's going to do okay. I think he's going to do okay.
He can get by from that standpoint. That's where I saw Michigan lacking in this game.
I agree. Yeah.
And Peyton O'Leary's probably the best and most talented target out there. It's not real dynamic out there for the Mason Blue. So yeah, Julian Saint's going to have that advantage, but just looking at him throw the ball, be comfortable, and raw talent, and Julian Saint's obviously, if he's going to be the starting quarterback at Ohio State, that tells us a whole lot, but he doesn't look like Bryce Underwood.
No. He looks a little bit more like, Drew Brees, his first year starting at Purdue 25 years ago, about 6'1", 6 feet, 6'1", and barely 200 pounds. Here's the thing I'm concerned about. I really think we need Mikey Keene. And I never know with the Michigan coaches, there's a long history, let's just flat out be honest, of just lying about injuries at Michigan, going back my entire childhood, okay? I mean, I just, particularly, we had one coach who told the truth about injuries here, Rich Rod, and it was literally his only redeeming quality, all right? He put out a real injury report. We actually knew who was going to play and what their injuries were. He treated it like the NFL. So I guess the trade-off is we're going to win more games but lie about injuries. I guess I'll take that trade, Mark, okay? Because going back to Bo and Mo and Lloyd, Jim, and now Sharon, it's just lying about injuries at Michigan is a tradition unlike any other. So I want to believe that Mikey Keene is back throwing again. I just don't know, okay? And here's why I do think it matters. I think Bryce is already ahead of him physically, and Mikey Keene's a guy that's played something like 6,000 snaps of college football or something, okay? He's already ahead of him physically. But where I think Mikey could really help is I think Bryce needs to see at a practice that despite his obvious physical superiority to Mikey Keene, that on a given day at practice, Mikey Keene gets the best of him because he knows what Bryce does not yet know he doesn't know yet. And I think Mikey pushing him from a preparation standpoint and Bryce seeing, wow, this guy is beat me today, despite the fact I'm 3 times the athlete he is, because he saw something and read something that I didn't even know I was supposed to see or read. I think, man, that would help Bryce grow leaps and bounds to have preparation competition in practice and to see that actually play out on the field rather than just kind of coach speak. And so I really think we need him. And then I think we need also him as a capable backup because I think we are going to have to, particularly early in the year, that second game at Oklahoma, we're going to have to run Bryce Underwood more than Michigan typically wants to have to run their quarterback. And so I think having a reliable veteran healthy there, I think is vital because I don't believe Jaden Davis is just playable. I don't believe that.
Yeah, he doesn't look like he's playable, but a lot can happen for a young player between now and August camp. So I'm not going to completely dismiss Jaden Davis, but he just, it's not like he looks like he doesn't know what he's doing, but my goodness, he missed a lot of receivers, and he does not look game ready by any stretch of the imagination. But again, I don't want to discount what can happen between mid-April and the end of August. There was a couple days there a couple weeks ago where Brendan Sullivan looked to be in play as an acquisition, which I was, from a Michigan camp standpoint, which I hate to take, I would have been all for that because I just think the guys would have been an excellent backup. But of course, he wants to go somewhere and he wants to play, and that wouldn't have happened at Michigan. But I think that he's more of a athlete like a Bryce Young, not to that degree, but he would have been a really capable guy to bring in, especially considering we don't know about Mikey Keene and how long this injury is going to last.
Let's look at what you think of the team as a whole. You mentioned the pass catchers. I mean, Donovan McCulley, all you need to know about how vital he is he went in there, made one really nice play, made Jaden Davis look good on a throw. Michigan immediately took him out, encased him in, I think, a hyperbaric chamber, and then the next day gave him the number 1 jersey and said, don't move until Labor Day. Literally, don't move. Don't go anywhere. Don't do anything. And look both ways before you cross the street, all right, before we kick off against New Mexico here over the Labor Day weekend. So I think that kind of gives you an idea of where they think they are at positionally there. We have tried to really amp up the recruiting there, but a lot of the player agents are basically saying, listen, man, I know the M stands for Michigan, but it really stands for Missouri. You have to show us first, okay? We need to actually see that you're just not going to have this guy handing the ball off 40 times like you did J.J. McCarthy. So we kind of have, it's Michigan still. I mean, these are still nice recruits, but they're not a receiving core really as a whole that is, befitting a quarterback of Bryce's stature. So he's going to have to elevate that room. I do think the running game will be very good. I like the 2 running backs that they have at the top. I thought the offensive line got consistent run push on both Mays and the Blue against a very good defensive front pretty much most of the game. They do have some pass pro issues at left tackle they're going to have to figure out there. But I thought all the angst talk about the offensive line, except for a few snaps at left tackle and pass pro, was vastly overblown, and I thought it actually acquitted itself fairly well, by and large, against what is possibly the best defense that offense will play all year. Because I do think defensively, Mark, they've been very good the last few years. It'll be a little different. There's no Mason Graham at the top, but the depth, I mean, they're 6 deep at tackle. They're 6 deep at end. They're 6 deep at linebacker. I mean, it's going to be like hockey lines. So there may not be a first-round pick there, but they're just full of guys that are going to be second and third day picks in the NFL, that I think the depth there on defense is going to allow them to play with a lot of speed and a lot of physicality and a lot of flexibility all year long.
Yeah, I know a lot of Michigan fans, even Michigan analysts, and they talk like the left tackle position is going to cost Michigan a Big Ten championship.
Yep.
They talk like that. Now, when it comes to the receiver room, based on how much we expect Michigan to throw the ball and not throw the ball, you can get away with a Donovan McCulley. And yes, he made that nice reception, and then, we didn't see him the rest of the game. I hear good things about Andrew Marsh. We saw it a couple times. I think he caught a couple balls and looked decent in space, got away from a few guys. Frederick Moore has not turned out to be the guy that some people had anticipated, at least based on his performance last season. But you can get away with maybe one guy who's a standout, one guy who's functional, catches 35 or 40 passes. And then, of course, the tight end play has to be what it's been for the last several seasons under Harbaugh and Sharon Moore. That's been pretty outstanding. So I guess that's on Peyton O'Leary. So the only issue I see in that, Steve, is that you either need the wide receiver room to elevate the quarterback or the quarterback to elevate the wide receiver room. And you alluded to Bryce elevating the wide receivers, but I don't know that we can really put that on him as a true freshman this year. So that's one concern there. Jordan Marshall, man, I was so impressed watching him play Alabama as a true freshman who didn't play all season. And not that he was getting these gaping holes and ripping off these really impressive runs from a yardage standpoint. It was more from, he's facing an NFL defense and he's battering them, and he's not even fully developed or hitting the strength and conditioning program hard just 1 year in. That I was super impressed with that bowl game performance. And I just think overall, Steve, I think we're in line for what could turn out to be one of the more interesting Big Ten races that we've seen in 20 years. Like usually it's like, okay, Ohio State and Michigan, maybe Penn State. I just think this thing's wide open and everybody has serious flaws outside of Penn State being, from a roster standpoint and a too deep standpoint, I think should be the clear-cut favorite. But we know what our reservations are about Penn State.
So final question for you then, and then we'll say goodbye to you until later this summer when the new season of Michigan Podcast begins. Right now, Michigan's over-under win total is 8.5. Based on what you've seen, what you've covered, what you've heard, where would you be on that right now?
Over.
You'd be over. Okay.
I'm over. And again, I hate to go and rely on the schedule, but I rely on schedule, defense, and talented quarterback, and them knowing who they should be in terms of identity on offense. And the schedule is just so far removed from what it was last year. You know, it's the biggest drop off. I forget. I've run the numbers. They're not in my head right now. But in regards to replacing the teams that they played in 2024, but will not play in 25, and the replacement team that's not even close. They play one team that finished over 500 in the Big Ten, and of course that's the last game of the season. Otherwise, it's USC and Washington at 4-5 of the best Big Ten records that they face out of this schedule.
Good to see you as always, brother. Enjoy your summer. All right, we'll be watching, and we'll see you in July. Thank you.
Good to see you, Steve. Thank you.
Good to see you. This week's X-Poll results, are you more optimistic, more pessimistic, or still about the same, Bob Seeger? Still the same. About Michigan's chances this season after watching the spring game. 44% of you say it. You're Bob Seeger right now. Still the same. All right. 32% of you said more optimistic. That's where I am. 25% of you said more pessimistic. I'm not used to being in the more optimistic category, but hey, man, I call like I see it. And I was very excited for the reasons I already gave with what I saw during that spring game. Speaking of things I'm excited about, if you'll indulge me here for our final feedback of the week, I'm going to cite myself as a source. Because I'm very excited for former Buckeye great Jack Sawyer. See, Jack got picked with the 123rd pick by the Pittsburgh Steelers in the NFL draft. Now, if you're not a Steeler fan, you don't care. But here's why all Michigan fans should care, right? Because Jack Sawyer, folks, finally got a pair of gold pants. I mean, I know what you were thinking. Some of you, I think, were thinking of sponsoring Jack Sawyer for as low as $8.99 a month, just as a charity case for the fact that he was not able to earn, acquire, achieve a singular pair of gold pants his entire 4-year career at an Ohio State University. All right, but he did. You did it, Jack. You did it. Congrats. He got picked by the Steelers. He couldn't do it when he tried. He could not get a pair of gold pants when he tried, but thanks to random chance and the Steelers picking him with the 123rd pick in the draft, Jack Sawyer finally, now he had to leave Columbus, of course, to get those things, get those bad boys, but he does finally have a pair of gold pants that he can claim, and we want to congratulate him. And of course, I mean, listen, this is solidarity between Wolverines and Buckeyes. We all wanted to see Jack get a pair of gold pants, and Michigan fans, I'm sure you'll join me in saying congratulations. We're happy for you, Jack, that you finally earned them someplace else because you couldn't earn them against us, brother. That'll do it for another season of Michigan Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. What an interesting year it was. We're back again come July with 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. The start of our 9th season, if you can believe it. Start of our 9th season of Michigan Podcast. I maybe should get a real life by now. Thank you guys so much for all of your great comments. I'm sure lots of Spartinas and Bucknuts. I'm sure we'll have plenty of pleasantries here in the comments following the last couple of videos of this season here on the page. Thank you for each and every one of them. I mean it from the deep, dark recesses of my inner bowels. I mean it. Thank you. All right. Like, rate, subscribe, share, 5-star review. Those things help us to get the word out, find more Michigan fans just like you. Don't forget to follow us until we return on X at Michigan Podcast on X. That's at Michigan Podcast on X. At the conclusion of yet another season, let me thank our great producer, Aaron McIntyre, who hates Michigan, but yet likes money. So he puts up with listening to me do this every single year because the check clears. So we appreciate his contributions and all of you as well. And you Bucknuts and Spartinas, your clicks, Google counts them just the same, brother. So come get some. Come get some. I rattled my zipper for you yet again. And yes, you are permitted to answer. Have a great summer. Enjoy it. Until we see each other again, I'm Steve Deace. Go Blue.